Learning disabilities: causes, characteristics, assessment, and educational approaches. Learning disabilities is a broad term that covers a pool of possible causes, symptoms, treatments, and outcomes. Not all learning problems are necessarily learning disabilities. Many children are simply slower in developing certain skills to be diagnosed as a learning disability. Specific criteria must be met. This criteria is located in the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Model of Mental Disorder. There are three broad categories of learning disabilities: developmental speech and language disorder, academic skills disorder, and other, a catch-all that includes certain coordinating disorders and learning handicaps not covered by other terms. Developmental speech and language disorders. Speech and language problems are often the earliest indicators of a learning disability. People with developmental speech and language disorders may have difficulty producing speech sounds, using spoken language to communicate, or understanding what others are saying. Depending on the problem, the diagnosis may be developmental articulation disorder, developmental expressive language disorder, and developmental receptive language disorder. Academic skills disorder. A student with academic skills disorder are often years behind their classmates in developing reading, writing, and arithmetic skills. The diagnosis could be developmental reading disorder, developmental writing disorder, and developmental arithmetic disorder. The DSM also lists additional categories such as motor skills disorder and specific developmental disorders. These categories include delays in acquiring language, academic, and motor skills that can affect the ability to learn. Causes of learning disabilities. Genetic factors. The fact that learning disabilities tend to run in families indicate that there may be a genetic link. Tobacco, alcohol, and other drug use. Any drugs taken by the mother pass directly to the fetus. Research shows that a mother's use of cigarettes, alcohol, and other drugs during pregnancy may have damaging effects on the unborn child. Alcohol may have damaging effects to the brain of the fetus. It could cause fetal alcohol syndrome. Drug use can cause receptor problems, which have been linked to ADHD and other learning disabilities. Problems during pregnancy. Other possible causes of learning disabilities involve complications during pregnancy. Anytime oxygen is cut off to the fetus, this can impair brain function and lead to learning disabilities. Toxins in the child environment. New brain cells and neural networks continue to be produced for a year or so after the child is born. These cells are vulnerable to certain disruptions. Assessment of learning disabilities. Evaluation. The most popular evaluation model is the discrepancy model. A child will receive an educational evaluation consisting of academic achievement tests and a psychological evaluation consisting of an IQ test. These can only be administered by professionals. Non-reference tests compare a person's score against the scores of a group of people who have already taken the same test, called the norm group. Standardized tests are called standardized when all students answer the same questions under similar conditions and their responses are scored in the same way. Functional assessment would be in examining how a person is able to function in the important domains of life, socially, and in work situations. A functional behavioral assessment is generally considered to be a problem-solving process for addressing student problems and behavior. Reevaluation is the process of evaluating a person a second time. Approaches for students with learning disabilities. ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, a one-on-one instruction typically used with autistic children. Classroom environment is very important to be considered when teaching students with disabilities. Moving a child's seat can make a significant difference. Careful planning when considering children with disabilities in your classroom. The lessons should be formulated to challenge all students, but also be made to be understood by children with disabilities.